Hey cousins, welcome to Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas.
Welcome, cousins, to this episode of Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. I'm Cousin Cornell Wright. In today's episode, we're going to talk about mail and mail-in balloting. I think it's something for us, all of us, to consider because when you think about it, there's been a lot of conversation recently about the mail. I don't know about you, cousin, but I'm pretty comfortable with the mail. I have had a chance to work a number of years ago, way back when I was in college. I worked in a sectional center for the U.S. Postal Service during the summer. Worked at nights. Hard work, but most importantly, some dedicated people worked in those centers. And I'm sure they're still there now. Not the same people, but the same type of people who were taking care of our mail back then are still taking care of our mail today. So, let's talk about the mail. People are talking about there being concerns about the use of mail-in balloting. Well, I think mail-in balloting starts to make sense because it's more convenient. Think about it. Absentee balloting has always been around. Absentee balloting is for who? Well, primarily it was for the military. My dad was in the military, and a lot of people in the military used in the past and still use absentee balloting. It's also being used by the elderly. Let's not forget, voting is in November, and a lot of people can't get around that easily or that smoothly in November as they can in the summertime. Also, if we start to think about these things and moving forward, absentee balloting is becoming more and more prevalent. So what's the definition of absentee balloting? Shouldn't we make that as simple as possible, cousins? That's a bad idea to make it hard. There are a lot of reasons why you might be out of town on the specific day of our elections. You might be working out of town on assignment. You might be on board a ship somewhere serving our country around the world. You might in fact be ill that day, recovering from a surgery. Or, as many of us have our loved ones who are in nursing homes, they're away in the nursing home and can't necessarily get out. Perhaps we don't even want them to get out, depending upon the weather and the circumstances. All good reasons why you should be able to send in mail votes. Now, cousins, there's also going to be this question right now about COVID-19, unfortunately, still being with us come November. You've all seen, and some of you may have been in some of the lines associated with various polling places. Let's think about this. If you have fewer polling places, one reason, because maybe some of the polling persons or registrars are older and they're not necessarily want to be in those situations. Think about that as a consideration. And a lot of states are starting to figure out ways to get more people to come in to serve those positions. But nonetheless, if you have maintaining social distancing, a line that ordinarily went around the block, 6 feet apart, will take you around 2-3 blocks. Come on, cousins, people need to be thinking about that ahead of time. How much longer are you going to have to stand in line? How much are you going to need to use restroom facilities? How about getting a glass of water or get a glass of water? So, cousins, let's think about this. If mailing is not going to be an option, and by the way, a lot of times you can mail in ahead of time. I just recently registered here in my state in order to register for voting for the primary. It worked out very well. It was a pretty smooth process. They only send it out to registered voters, so no one who's not registered is not going to get an opportunity to cast a ballot, right? So that takes away some of the exposure. And I don't know about you, but mail is pretty reliable. I haven't missed a bill in decades. Have you? All right? And every time I send out a Christmas card, if I send it on time, who I want to get it to, they get it on time. In fact, they're even so good, what do? If I send it to the wrong address because my friend moved and didn't tell me, they'll send it back to me and say, send them another card. The post office is good. I love it. Like this too. A little bourbon today. The post office is good and they serve us and work really hard, and it's a great value for what we receive. And if you ever notice how hard those people work during the holidays, they'd be able to handle the volume associated with mailing ballots in November as well, guaranteed. So cousins, here's the bad idea for the week. Go figure out right now, call your registrar of voters or contact them however, internet, call them, whatever you need to do to figure out where you are right now to make sure you're registered to vote. Second part is you want to then understand what is absolutely required and where the polling location is going to be for wherever you live. So then when you start thinking about it, ask them the question, so how many polling places are there going to be for our town, our municipality? Is it going to be at the school? Is it going to be around at the post office? Where is it going to be in my neighborhood? Should be something relatively convenient. And then think about how many people are going to be going there with social distancing in order to maintain, and think about how long the line is going to be. If the line is too long, let me suggest you start calling your state and your local representatives right now to start saying, hey, let's make more use of the ballots by mail, and let's make it easy for us to do that. They can change the laws, they can change those modifications, because the most important thing is that you have an opportunity of voting, not to make it more difficult for you. If you're a registered voter and you're citizens of the United States, that's your right. They shouldn't be making it hard for you to exercise your rights. You think? Cousins, let's get involved, because it's our democracy. If you don't work at it, you don't have it. That wraps it up for this episode of Brown Liquor and Bad Ideas. You take care of yourselves out there. Keep your mask going, and go make sure that you're registered so that when the November elections come in November, there won't be any surprises for you when you go to cast your vote, assuming you go physically, but even make sure that you have the opportunity to mail it and it's not a laborious process. Take care of yourselves, cousin.
We are the people. We are the people.